So I had a question for you to start us off today. Have you ever been in a situation,
Mhm.
maybe it's a book club or a study group, or even just chatting with a friend? You both read the exact same paragraph, the same set of words,
Right.
and you walk away thinking, okay, that was nice. But the other person is basically vibrating with excitement.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the what I call the Teflon brain effect.
The Teflon brain.
Yeah. You read it and it just slides right off. Meanwhile, your friend is over there having this massive transformative epiphany,
Exactly.
and you're just left wondering if, I don't know, you got a defective copy of the text.
It's so frustrating because the temptation is to look at that gap and just assume it's about, well, talent.
Right.
You think, they're just more spiritual than I am, or they have a higher IQ, or they just got lucky.
Yeah. It feels like some people have a cheat code for insight that we didn't get.
Totally. But today, we are jumping into a deep dive on a source that basically says, no, put the umbrella away. Insight isn't lightning.
It really isn't.
We're looking at an article by Monica Vellum. It's titled, Considering His Word, The Hermeneutics of Diligence.
Which is quite the title.
It is a $10 word, right? Hermeneutics.
Mm.
But the mission of this deep dive is to show that despite how academic that sounds, this is actually one of the most practical, mechanical breakdowns of how spiritual learning actually works.
It really is. Vellum is essentially arguing that there is a physics to spiritual insight.
A physics. I like that.
Yeah, she takes this very specific passage, Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 25, and she just deconstructs it to prove that your capacity to understand isn't a lottery ticket.
Right.
It's a mechanism. It's a lever that you can actively pull.
She calls it the hermeneutics of diligence. And, for those listening who haven't spent time in a seminary library, hermeneutics usually just means the science of interpretation.
Sure. Greek grammar, historical context, that sort of thing.
Right, but Vellum isn't really talking about that here, is she?
No, not at all. She's talking about the posture of the reader. She's arguing that the depth of your insight is directly, basically mathematically proportional to the measure of attention you pay.
It's an economic exchange.
Exactly, which is a pretty bold claim.
Because if she's right, it means if I'm not getting anything out of a text, it's not a text's fault.
Nope. It puts the ball squarely in your court.
So let's unpack this mechanism. Vellum anchors her entire argument in this passage from Mark's Gospel, and she starts with an image that seems pretty straightforward, the lamp.
Right. Mark 4.21. Jesus asks, "Is a lamp brought in to be put under a basket or under a bed? Is it not to be set on a lampstand?"
Which, on the surface, is just a rhetorical question.
Of course.
I mean, if I buy a lamp from IKEA, I don't bring it home and shove it under my laundry hamper.
Right.
The whole point of a lamp is to light up the room.
Exactly. But Vellum asks us to pause on that obvious point.
Right.
She focuses on the concept of telos.
The Greek idea of ultimate purpose.
Yes, exactly. The telos of the lamp is illumination. But, and here is the key for this whole deep dive, for the lamp to fulfill its physics, for it to do what it was literally made to do, it necessitates positioning.
It needs elevation.
It requires it, yes.
Okay, so usually when I hear this verse taught, the takeaway is pretty standard Sunday school stuff. Don't hide your faith.
Right. Speak up, be bold, don't be ashamed at work.
Yeah, that's standard reading. But Vellum takes a really fascinating hard left turn here. She connects verse 21 to verse 22.
Right. For nothing is hidden except to be made manifest, nor is anything secret except to come to light.
And usually that sounds like a threat to me.
A threat.
Yeah, like your secrets will find you out. Like if you're doing something shady in the dark, eventually the lights are coming on.
Right. The scandalous expose interpretation.
Exactly.
But Vellum looks at the context of the lamp, which is a positive image, and she argues that we're misreading what hidden things actually means. She says these aren't sins. These aren't skeletons in the closet.
Then what are they?
They're inheritances.
Inheritances. Okay, explain that.
She argues that hidden things refers to spiritual potential, to graces and callings that are currently dormant inside the believer.
That is a massive reframe.
It changes everything.
So the lamp under the basket isn't a metaphor for cowardice or sin at all. It's a metaphor for, what, immaturity.
Precisely. Think about it biologically. An oak tree is hidden inside an acorn.
Oh, wow.
It's not hiding because it's ashamed. It's hidden because it just hasn't gone through the process of growth yet.
That makes so much sense.
Right. She actually points to Romans chapter 8, where it talks about creation waiting for the revealing of the sons of God.
Revealing.
Yes. That word implies that the potential was there all along, just waiting for the right conditions to emerge.
So if we follow the logic here for the listener The lamb on the stand isn't me shouting my opinions at people to prove I'm faithful.
Yeah.
It's the internal potential inside of me finally maturing enough to be visible.
Exactly. It's the unveiling of a matured work. The lamp doesn't have to try to shine. It just has to be put on the stand. And Vellum actually distinguishes this into two separate categories.
Right. She spots a nuance between hidden things and secret things.
Yes.
Which I caught when reading the source material, and honestly, I thought she might be splitting hairs at first.
It sounds like it initially.
But the distinction actually makes a lot of sense once you dig into it.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because she argues that hidden things refers to that internal inheritance we just talked about, your character, your spiritual DNA.
Internal.
Right. But secret things refers to external reality, the veiled truths and mysteries of the world around you.
Okay, so internal growth versus external exposure.
Exactly. Once the believer matures, once that internal lamp is on the stand, they become a source of illumination for the world.
Right.
Vellum calls it a prophetic echo of Genesis 1, let there be light. When you are illuminated internally, you start exposing the reality of the situations around you. You bring clarity to chaos.
That's a very compelling promise. I mean, I think everyone listening wants to be that person.
Oh, for sure.
The one who walks into a confusing situation at work or in a difficult relationship and just sees it clearly.
You want to be the lamp on the stand.
Right. But this brings us to the real crux of the article. Because we all want that clarity. We all want the manifestation.
Yeah.
But most of us feel like we're still stuck under the basket.
We feel the potential, but we just don't see the result.
Exactly. And that is where Vellum shifts from the metaphor to the actual mechanic.
The how-to.
Yes. How do you move the lamp? How do you trigger that growth?
She says the pivot point is Mark 4.24.
Take heed what you hear. Take heed what you hear. It sounds a little passive.
Passive.
Yeah, like be careful not to listen to bad advice or watch out for false teachers.
Right, but Vellum argues it's the exact opposite of passive. In the original text, the implication is consider carefully.
Okay.
It demands what she calls qualitative scrutiny.
Scrutiny, now that implies work.
It does.
That implies looking at something under a microscope rather than just kind of glancing at it as you walk by.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
And here is the core insight of this entire deep dive. Vellum describes this process as an economic principle.
Okay.
The verse continues, with the same measure you use, it will be measured to you.
This is what she calls the principle of attentive allotment.
Right. Think of it like a currency exchange. You are holding a currency, and that currency is called attention.
Attention.
The text, the spiritual truth, is the product. The amount of insight you walk away with is strictly determined by the amount of attention you are willing to pay.
So it's input equals output.
Yes.
If I approach a text with a teaspoon of attention, like I'm skimming, I'm checking my phone, I'm half listening to a sermon while doing the dishes, I am mechanically limited to receiving a teaspoon of insight.
Exactly. You can't buy a Ferrari with pocket change. And if you bring a bucket, you get a bucket.
Wow.
Vellum is very firm on this. God is not playing favorites here. He isn't arbitrarily deciding, oh, I like Susan better, so I'll give her the epiphany today.
It's an accounting.
It is an accounting of diligence. It's not a gift in the way we usually think of it.
That's empowering because it means I actually have control over my own growth. But honestly, it's also a little terrifying.
Because it removes the excuse.
Yes. I can't say, well, God just hasn't revealed that to me yet. Vellum is basically saying, no, the insight was right there on the shelf and you just didn't pay the price to buy it.
That is the sting of it. We love to blame the teacher when we don't learn, but Vellum says, check your tuition payments.
Ouch.
And to back this up, she pulls in this fascinating parallel from the Old Testament law of inheritance. Numbers 26.54.
I loved this part of the source. It is such a wild connection to make, going from a parable about a lamp to a literal census about land distribution. But it completely works.
It does.
This is about how the Israelites divided up the promised land, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
When they finally entered the land, they had to map out who got what territory. And the rule wasn't random lottery. It was. To a large tribe, you shall give a larger inheritance, and to a small tribe, you shall give a smaller inheritance.
So capacity dictates allotment.
Exactly. If you have a tribe of 50,000 people, you get a massive tract of land. If you have 500 people, you get a small plot.
Yeah.
Vellum applies this directly to spiritual territory. You say you want to understand the deep mysteries of the universe. You want a large inheritance of insight.
Right.
Well, how big is your capacity? How much measure have you built?
And when we say capacity here, we really need to clarify that we aren't talking about IQ.
Mm,
We aren't talking about natural intelligence.
no, not at all.
We are talking about that word,
Right.
diligence.
It's about the price paid. Velen's very careful to distinguish this. Salvation, that is a gift.
Right. Grace is free.
Grace is free. But maturity, insight, that has a price tag. And the currency is the effort you put into the search.
She draws a really sharp line here in the article between two types of people, the spiritual child and the spiritual son, or king.
This is based on Proverbs 25.2, which she quotes beautifully. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to search out a matter.
I've always found that verse kind of playful, like God is setting up a cosmic Easter egg hunt for us.
Velen takes it very seriously. She says God conceals things so that we can earn the status of kings by finding them.
Oh, I like that phrasing. So he's not hiding things from us to be mean or aloof or mysterious. He's hiding things for us.
Exactly. Think about it parenting-wise.
Okay.
If you do everything for your child, you tie their shoes, you cut their food, you answer every single question immediately, they remain a child.
Right.
But when you step back and let them struggle to figure it out, that's when they grow.
Yeah.
Vellum argues that if everything was just handed to us, surface level, easy to read, we would remain spiritual children forever. The honor comes from the hunt.
Okay, so let's get practical for the listener, because be diligent and hunt for truth are, great slogans to put on a coffee mug. But what does that look like on a Tuesday morning when you're tired and you only have 10 minutes? Does Vellum actually give us the how-to for this search?
She does. She breaks the price down into two very specific commodities we have to exchange.
Okay.
The first is what she calls meticulous ponderance.
Meticulous ponderance. It sounds like something Sherlock Holmes would do.
It's actually a great description of exactly that. It means treating the communication, the verse, the sermon, the idea, with forensic attention to detail.
Right.
You assume that every single word is there for a specific reason.
Yeah.
You don't skim. You scrutinize syntax. You cross-reference. You ask, why did the author use this word and not that word?
So it's the exact opposite of how we consume social media today.
Exactly. We scroll to get the gist. We want the headline.
Yeah, she's saying stop scrolling and dissect the anatomy of the idea.
Right. If you want the secret things, you have to stop being satisfied with just the gist.
And the second commodity.
It's the one that hurts the most. Time.
Yeah, the truly scarce resource.
Vellum writes, the object of meditation opens up in direct proportion to the time spent on it.
Direct proportion.
That's the physics again. You simply cannot cheat the clock.
That's tough, though. I mean, we live in a world that is heavily optimized for speed. We want the life hack. We want the 5 steps to spiritual enlightenment in a 60-second video.
Right.
And Vellum is essentially saying that format is structurally incapable of delivering deep insight.
Correct. You can get information quickly. You can get data, but you cannot get revelation without time. It's like trying to make a slow-cooked brisket in the microwave. You get hot meat, sure,
Yeah.
but you won't get BBQ.
Hot meat, but not BBQ. I'm definitely going to remember that one.
The time is the ingredient.
So Vellum is challenging us to just slow down. And if we're willing to pay this price, the scrutiny and the time, we trigger the next part of the cycle.
Which leads us to the verse that usually makes people the most uncomfortable in this whole passage, Mark 4.25.
For whoever has, to him more will be given, but whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken away from him.
The classic rich get richer dynamic.
Yeah, and in our current cultural climate, that sounds incredibly unfair. It sounds like systemic inequality. Like, why punish the guy who has nothing by taking away the little bit he has?
It does sound harsh if you view it through a lens of victimhood or arbitrary favoritism.
Yeah.
But Vellum asks us to view it through the lens of stewardship.
Stewardship. How does that change it?
Think about it mechanically, based on everything we just discussed. The person who has is the person who did the work.
Right.
They paid the measure. They built the capacity. So because they handled the first truth responsibly, they are entrusted with more. It's not favoritism. It's competence.
It's like a weightlifter. If you can bench press 200 pounds with good form, your trainer adds more weight. Not to crush you, but because you've proven you can handle it.
Exactly. You don't give the heavy weights to the person who hasn't trained. That would just be dangerous.
Right.
Vellum says this demonstrates a stewardship that warrants further revelation.
And the flip side, whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away.
That's simply atrophy.
Atrophy. So it's not God actively punishing you for being slow. It's a natural consequence.
If you don't use the muscle, it wastes away. If you don't use the language you learned in high school, you forget it.
Yeah.
Vellum notes that a lack of diligence leads to a shrinking capacity. If you ignore the promptings you do get, eventually you stop hearing them altogether.
Wow.
You become spiritually deaf, not because God stopped speaking, but because your receiver broke from lack of maintenance.
That puts the responsibility so squarely back on us. I mean, we tend to wait for God to break through the silence in our lives, but Vellum is suggesting the silence is self-inflicted.
She's saying the volume knob is actually on our side of the wall. If you aren't hearing anything, check your diligence. Check your measure.
So let's zoom out for a second as we get near the end here. What is the end game of all this? Is this just about becoming a Bible trivia champion?
No.
Being the guy at the dinner party who knows the Greek root for everything and constantly corrects everyone else?
Definitely not, and Vellum is very clear on that. The goal isn't academic accumulation. The goal is faith.
Faith.
Think about the difference between repeating a rumor and testifying to something you saw with your own two eyes.
Right.
When you have merely heard a truth, maybe from a pastor or on a screen, your faith in it is fragile. It's secondhand knowledge.
Yeah.
But when you have searched it out, when you've paid the price of time and scrutiny, you own that understanding.
It removes the doubt.
Precisely. Mature understanding solidifies faith because it's no longer theoretical to you. You've done the math yourself. You've seen the map. You know the territory.
That is the lamp on the stand.
Exactly. A faith that is visible, unshakable, and illuminating to everyone around it.
It really is a complete ecosystem she's describing here. It's a loop.
Yes.
The lamp is the potential inside us.
Right.
The measure is the diligence we apply to unlock it.
Yeah.
And the manifestation is the result, the light that helps others.
And the catalyst for the whole thing is us. It's our attention.
That's the real aha moment for me in this source material. We spend so much time praying, God, speak to me, give me a sign, show me something new.
Right.
And this article suggests God is answering, I already did. Did you check the text? Did you bring your bucket? Or did you bring a teaspoon?
It completely changes the prayer from, give me something new, to help me see what is already there.
Yeah.
It invites us to stop being consumers and start being excavators.
Excavators. I love that image. It changes the posture completely.
It's the kingly pursuit. It's stepping into that exact role Proverbs talks about.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge. We don't want this to just be another deep dive you nod at and then forget 10 minutes later.
No, because that would be bringing a small measure.
Exactly. Don't prove the theory right by ignoring it. So, based on Vellum's physics of insight, here is the question you need to ask yourself this week.
If the measure of insight you receive is determined by the measure of attention you pay, what is the specific truth or verse or piece of advice you've already heard but have been completely ignoring?
That's the one. What is the thing you've put in the basket because it felt too hard or too tedious to unpack?
What is currently blocking your own inheritance simply because you haven't stopped to give it the meticulous ponderance it demands?
Don't look for something new. Look for what you've neglected.
Exactly. Go dig up your own backyard.
On that note, we're going to let you go do some digging. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the hermeneutics of diligence.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.